Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. According to NHK, Iran's parliamentary speaker, Mohammad Bakr Ghalibaf, has indicated that Tehran will not advance negotiations toward a final agreement with the United States until 5 key provisions of their bilateral Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, are implemented. Ghalibaf, who is leading the talks aimed at ending hostilities between the two nations, made the remarks during an interview with Iran's state-run Press TV. The 5 provisions specified in the signed memorandum include the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon, as well as ending the U.S. blockade of the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Ghalibaf emphasized that Iran will not move to the next stage of implementing any remaining terms until all 5 of these preliminary provisions are fully consolidated and finalized. Additionally, he reiterated Iran's stance on regional sovereignty, asserting that navigation through the Strait of Hormuz remains under Iranian administration. He noted that the current agreement only offers a temporary exemption from maritime service fees and does not alter Iran's sovereignty over the waterway. According to a report by the Liberty Times, U.S. President Donald Trump has decided to continue negotiations with Iran despite receiving military briefings on resuming full-scale war. The decision follows a recent military clash between the U.S. and Iran, marking their first conflict since signing a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, on June 17th, which had raised concerns over the agreement's potential collapse. Sources reported that Trump held several discussions with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Kane regarding the possibility of carrying out further airstrikes or returning to full-scale war. Ultimately, Trump determined that a new round of major attacks could derail diplomatic efforts and undermine Washington's goal of dismantling Iran's nuclear program. Trump expressed preference for a single retaliatory airstrike instead of full-scale war and noted he is willing to let negotiations extend beyond the 60-day ceasefire deadline of August 18th. Outstanding issues in the negotiations include disputes over Hormuz Strait transit fees and restrictions on Iran's nuclear activities. According to a report by Metro.co.uk, Ukrainian investigators working to identify and return the bodies of fallen soldiers to their families have made a harrowing discovery. Russian forces are hiding explosives inside the corpses. Tarasenko, a senior police investigator in Ukraine's Kryvyi region, revealed that teams have repeatedly found explosive objects, including grenades, hidden within the remains. To protect forensic teams and families, mandatory safety checks have been implemented before any identification work can begin. However, these precautions have caused significant delays in returning the bodies for proper burials. The report highlights wider allegations of atrocities, including claims that Russia has returned bodies showing severe signs of torture or missing internal organs. In one notable case, an autopsy on captured Ukrainian journalist Victoria Rachina revealed her brain, eyes, and trachea were missing. Furthermore, past investigations in areas like Izium uncovered hundreds of exhumed bodies showing clear signs of abuse and torture. Forensic experts continue to work around the clock under hazardous conditions to ensure the fallen can eventually be laid to rest. According to a report by Lianhe Zaobao, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced on social media that Ukrainian forces have successfully launched attacks on strategic targets deep inside Russian territory, far from the front lines. Zelensky stated that the Ukrainian military targeted an oil refinery in Ufa, a major Russian oil processing and heavy industry hub located more than 1,300 kilometers from the front line. Additionally, Ukrainian forces struck a strategic facility in the western Russian city of Penza, situated approximately 600 kilometers from the front. This facility is reportedly responsible for manufacturing vital missile components used by Moscow in its strikes against Ukraine. Bloomberg reports indicate that Ukraine has significantly ramped up the range and intensity of its strikes inside Russia. This escalation has led to missile threat alerts being triggered across nearly half of Russia's regions this year, including recent warnings in the Volga Federal District, Astrakhan Oblast, and the North Caucasus region, reflecting the growing reach of Ukraine's defensive operations. A special counsel team investigating former President Yoon Suk Yeol's failed martial law bid in 2024 has requested arrest warrants for Kim Jong-uk, former Commissioner General of the Coast Guard, and Aung San Suu Kyi, former Director General for Planning and Coordination of the Coast Guard, Yonhap News Agency reported on Wednesday. The team, led by Special Counsel Kwon Chong-yong, accuses Kim of convening an emergency virtual conference of Coast Guard leadership shortly after the martial law declaration on December 3, 2024, to discuss dispatching investigators to a joint martial law investigation headquarters. Meanwhile, Aung is suspected of ordering officials to clear and reorganize detention facilities to prepare for a large number of incoming detainees. Both former officials face charges of assisting in insurrection and abuse of power. Although a previous special counsel team led by Cho Yoon-suk had decided not to press charges against A due to insufficient evidence, Kwon's team reopened the investigation after uncovering new suspicions of complicity and formally expanded the probe to include Kim on June 10. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.